Are you ready for a balance? The first balance we've seen ourselves. I think one of the few balances too. There's only a couple in this tournament. All right, let's go.
All right, let's see what we got. So health-wise, Thomas really has a big advantage against Norm.
No, it's Myth versus balance. That's what we're at. Because he said Storm by mistake. Long day.
Starting out by critical. All right, not a bad hit to get off him.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting move too, to just immediately go for it. I don't think I've ever seen a balance do that.
Truth be spoken, though, balance wizards don't really blade though, so you can say it's not completely out of the norm. But as a beginning of the match move, though, it definitely is interesting. But perhaps they just thought, hey, limited options. I can't use the spell again until it reshuffles. So why not now, right? Get instead of discarding it. If they'll just say they don't, it's like, well, it's either now or never.
That is fair.
That's what's cool about this mode, though. Like, your decision making on saving cards for later maybe not as vital, because you may want to get that card out of circulation now for maybe discarding purposes later on, or there's a lot of meta card strategies that you do, because the rules are different. Like, you can only use each spell by the name once unless you reshuffle, and that resets the limit. It's pretty cool.
This is a pretty good move coming out from Thomas too. I think this might possibly help. It doesn't seem to matter, but I was going to say it might help in preventing that puppet from taking off a specific shield, but...
This is gearing up to be a pretty decent hit from Lauren as well. She has a decent amount of damage. Forgot this spell existed, to be honest. The thing with having bubbles up is that Thomas can play this to his advantage by using any spells that will give him myth damage as well. Warren's still holding the pip advantage against Thomas. And he targets the puppet. And then we see Thomas pull out the Lore Master. Interesting move. Against Lauren. Definitely one of the better spells to use. And then Lauren puts a Myth Prism on Thomas.
Ooh.
So, big level plays here.
Definitely like prisms. Prisms change the game so fast. I love it.
And not many use them in PvP either. It seems like both of them have pretty decent critical rating as well. Thomas seemed to start out with having a...
Really?
It did. Thomas, despite having over 1,500 health advantage on Lauren is really kind of countering that, bringing Thomas down with her. What do you think Lauren's next move should be on Thomas?
There we go. To be completely honest, we're sitting in a situation where if I was her, I'd be thinking about, I don't know, maybe blading up a little bit more or something. Possibly getting another minion out. Not too sure what that was. That might have been a pretty decent hit.
For Lauren, I don't know what her next move should be here, honestly. I would think maybe just to see if she could do something small to get the minus 70 myth off of Thomas. And then maybe possibly wait up for a bigger hit.
That would probably be the best move for her.
Because with her health running low, we've already seen Thomas can do a decent amount of damage, plus he has a decent amount of critical. A decent sized hit can really knock Laura down, and then another hit right afterwards can knock her out.
And she's already going for the reshuffle too. So that's pretty interesting. We'll see if we'll see what that means for her strategy.
I wonder what spell specifically she hopes on using after doing the reshuffle. Now that she doesn't have any pips, and she has actual trap on her, Thomas could really do something big. Very interesting match. With Balance, it could be kind of unpredictable in what he would do next, especially because with Balance being able to have so many different schools to use for attacking, he really can use that to his advantage in a way. Versus with Lauren, her main attack is just going to be using myth spells. And going up against Thomas's health, the shields that Thomas keeps placing, it's really kind of put at a place where there is really no prediction you can make as of right now.
I'd completely agree with that. It's definitely a tough situation for Lauren. She's gonna have to make some really good moves in order to combat Thomas from first.
If she has the Grendel healing spell, then she could use that to her advantage. If Thomas could eventually run out of pips and then see if they can kind of start back from ground level and build up again. But for Lauren, she has to be kind of stressed out compared to the amount of pips Thomas has, the shields he has, and the versatility he has. She's kind of really put at this position where she can't really make a good strategy. And just kind of has to hope for the best. Especially with the use of Lore Master, Thomas is really kind of keeping her in a position of being very limited.
And there it is. Grendel's amends.
So the question is, how much will this heal?
Depends on if she crits. This could...
As well, it is a mid-spell. That's right.
This could pull her back up. Doesn't look like she's gonna get the crit, though.
No crit.
876, it's not bad. It would have been nice if she crit, but, you know... It's a very worthy decision.
For the pips that she lost casting that hill, that could really play more into Thomas's favor. She knocked off a decent-sized hit worth of damage, but the question is, how much damage can Thomas really go to on her?
We're about to find out right here.
And that did double the heal as well.
That's quite a bit.
Lauren, who is currently left out with no pips as of right now. But then again, she's getting that back from the Empower. It's kind of in position. She now has a pip advantage over Thomas. But not by much. Thomas, who still has the shields, he's really holding out against Lauren.
The Ninja Piglets. This is a spell that I honestly thought I would never see anybody use. And then they nerfed lore. And this spell became the new meta. It's so weird.
Right.
I just never would have expected it. It's just because it does so much damage for balance based on its pips. Just raw damage. So it's interesting, you know? You see a lot of balances now, they'll do a Savage Paw into that spell instead of lore spamming because that's just the better meta now. It's weird.
It's definitely different. I'm trying to think, what would I do if I was in Lauren's position? I really couldn't tell you. This Minotaur will help her out a bit. But based off of what Thomas has been doing, what is his mindset and where to go from here?
I think Thomas has been playing a really strong game, though, to be honest. I think if Lauren wants to have any potential to come back, what she needs to do is get a minion out and have the minion help distract Thomas some.
If Lauren were to pull out a minion, Thomas could save up for a potentially deadly sandstorm on him.
Ooh, Thomas getting the regular pip. They could have been a Hydra right here, but now he's going to have to settle for something else. He could go for the mana burn. Is that allowed? I think mana it is.
I think you can use it a limited amount of times in a match.
And I don't think we've seen it at all so far. So if Thomas really wanted to, he might be able to pull that out real quick, take Lauren down on her pips, and then go from there. But we'll see. He's going for the infal again.
If it were to put on an Elemental Blade and then cast Hydra, that could be dangerous to Lauren.
As a note from Anaburn, it is 3 per game. That is the official
3
ruling.
per game.
Yeah, that's what it is.
All right.
The more you know.
I was like, I knew that there was a limit, but I couldn't remember if it was straight up removed. So that'll be interesting to see what Thomas decides to do with his ability to use that spell. We haven't seen him use it yet.
And I'm interested to see that if Thomas really were to put on an Elemental Blade and use Hydra, then how much could he do to Lauren? Lauren really has to just keep holding herself out and hoping that she can get Thomas down. And with respect to Lauren, she has been getting him pretty close, honestly, with around roughly 5,000 health.
That is true. Now we'll need to see what Thomas does here. Remember earlier, his Ninja Piglets without a crit was doing about 700 damage. He's going to go for the Hydra right now, which is an interesting move considering he had the 20% on.
Especially with the crit. Yeah, he has it.
This is definitely going to do it at least, but that was quite the move.
Alright, so 2 back-to-back really quick matches.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's definitely changed though from the previous set of matches we saw before, where they were much lower. There we go. Match has been timed. That is pretty pog, man.